And Mann Gulch happened, he was in Idaho, down by Lewiston, Idaho. And they got the call, or he got the call, and then he flew up to Missoula and right straight on over to Helena, and that was, he got there that night. And the next morning they were in and took all the bodies out, flying there virtually all day long with all the investigators that came in, and he was there for 6 days. When he came back from there, this is another story in itself, but it was still very, very hot out, and this would have been second week of August. And as I said, we lived right over by the airport. And Dad had an old pickup that he dearly loved. It was like a 1938 or 39, black. I've still got it in my mind, but it looks like something out of the Beverly Hillbillies. But it was his pride and joy, and that's all he ever did was drive back and forth to the airport. Well, it was later in the afternoon. My mother used to sit in the sun in her lawn chair on West Central, where we lived. I remember this thing, the truck pulling up, and Dad got out, and I didn't know who it was. I'm 6 years old. No, I'm not quite. I'm still a week or two away. And Dad was very short. He was only 5'4". So that all fit, but he was black from head to toe, virtually, just face and the hands. He didn't stop to say anything. I didn't know anything was going on like this. We didn't know any of that stuff. At 6 years old, what would you know? He walked into the steps of the house, and there was 3 steps up to the front door, and walked straight into the house. And I just remember being quite alarmed as to, was that really him? It looked like him, but it's his truck. It didn't look like him. And I walked into the house, and that's probably my first memory, real strong memory. He had turned right, gone into the bathroom, hadn't shut the door. He was on his knees on the floor with his head in the toilet, and he was barfing for a long, long time. I mean, because those people work so close together. The Ready Shack for the jump base, where they'd keep at least a DC-3 load at that time was 16, is right next to the cafe that Grandma and her sister ran, and all the pilots hung out, and they'd be off for a beer after work across the street, and it was very, very close operation. But when I was in grade school, Norman Maclean, who wrote the Young Men on Fire book, was a friend of my father's. They virtually lived 1 block apart from each other in Missoula here. Even though he's about 10, 12 years older, they knew each other, and Maclean used to hang around the airport a lot, which was the old Hale Field at that time. I don't know how he did it, but because of Dad's experience there and Maclean's interest in the Mann Gulch thing, he would fly Maclean over there in the helicopter. And I know he didn't charge him for it or anything. But a couple of those times, Dad took me along, even though I'm only, like I say, 12 years old. Because he would drop Maclean off at the top, and he was getting older then. And it's big time rattlesnake country, so he's worried that if something happens to him, there's nobody going to know. If he falls down and breaks his leg or whatever it is, who's going to know when you're not going to be able to figure out how to get him. So I'm supposed to just walk down with him, stay out of his way. Well, that's virtually what he did. He didn't really he wasn't nasty, he wasn't mean, he wasn't anything like that. It's just, he wasn't interested in a 12-year-old kid that was. So we'd walk down through there. We did that a couple times in the fall, when he would come out here early fall, like early September, close to now, and then go over and go through it, and then he'd fly him back over here. That was even 10 years before he really decided to write the book. We never talked about it. And to this day, I'm really, really sad when it was just never spoken of. You know, as parents, I was always wondered, after the fact, after I got to know about Mann Gulch and knew a lot more about it, they never ever told me, no, you're not going jumping, that's too, those people are all crazy or anything like that. We don't want you doing that. Never ever.